The day has only gotten hotter at Gingerman Raceway for GRIDLIFE's spring kickoff event. Hello, my name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Nathan Brown for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 4 of 4 for the weekend. We've had 3 races so far, one earlier this afternoon where Tom O'Gorman won his 3rd race of the weekend, his 4th in a row, Nate. As we head into this last race of the weekend, we've had a 9-car inversion, so it'll be Eric Jensen in his V8 swapped FR-S out front. O'Gorman with 3 wins under his belt this weekend starts all the way back in 9th.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how Tom makes it up from the inverted grid there. Really should mix it up and make for some interesting racing, especially in the first couple of laps.
We've got a really good-looking pace car here. We'll get a shot of this as it rolls off through turn number 2. That's a Mini Cooper from the FCP Euro stable, Nate.
It is indeed. That's Evan. He's our blog editor, producer, writer extraordinaire, and he drove that Mini out here from Connecticut and has been tracking it in track battle.
And that's great. We had, of course, Ben Morowski with the Mini Cooper that he was running in GLTC. Had a mechanical issue earlier in the weekend, hoping to see that car back out at another GLTC event in the future. But we've had really solid racing this weekend. The races on Saturday had a couple disqualifications. And so from what I've heard, race 3 was a little bit cleaner in that regard. So our grid order isn't modified from our finishing order from race 3 other than the 9-car inversion. So sharing the front row with Eric Jensen is Luke McGrew. Jeremy Swenson and Andy Smedgard will start in the 2nd row. Then Aaron Lichty, Eric Catil will start in row number 3. One driver I got to keep my eye on, though, is Brian Heitkotter in the Chris Forsberg Racing 370Z. He drove from the back of the field to 11th in race number 3, so he's going to be hot charging to the top 5.
Yeah, I got to say, we were on the berm in turn 1 watching race 3. And Heitkotter must have passed at least 10 cars by turn 3. He was definitely making moves and went almost up, top 10, which is pretty impressive in a field this big.
He comes from a pro racing background. He's a past GT Academy winner, so also has a lot of sim racing experience. And while we're on that topic, of course, FCP are also involved in some sim racing programs, both with GRIDLIFE as well as with World Challenge, which I also do some work for. So thanks for that support as well. That's a great way in the off-season to have drivers sort of come together and compete, whether it's iRacing or Assetto Corsa or even Forza. So that's been a real fun way. There's a handful of drivers in this series that have also run esports events for GRIDLIFE, including DJ Alessandrini, who also comes from a sim racing background, and he started his GLTC racing career only after about 3 track weekends. So that skill translated pretty directly over, and he is a big advocate for sim racing and making yourself a better driver using data analysis and that sort of thing. So that's a pretty cool thing. We've got a handful of other drivers. Eric Catil does it a bunch. Tom O'Gorman comes from a background of that as well. So a pretty cool thing to kind of slide in there is in the off season, not real racing, especially if you're in the winter climates, but it gets a lot of action in the sim racing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sim racing is really challenging. Depending on which software or which program you run, the physics models, things like that, it's a lot of fun, super challenging. And if DJ Alessandrini only had 3 track days before going wheel to wheel, that says a lot.
Yeah, he comes also from an autocross background, so that also helped a bunch. And
Sure.
Tom O'Gorman's another guy that will praise autocross as a great way to get started with performance driving. But we've got one more lap under caution condition here before we turn them loose for 15 more minutes. With the field inversion, Nate, every time we have this, we always have a mad scramble at the front. We do this to kind of mix things up and keep someone from winning all 4 races of the weekend, but it's not impossible for someone to do that. Aaron Lichty has swept a weekend before at Road America a couple years ago. So Tom O'Gorman, even with the rewards weight he had, which was 150 pounds, that's a maximum you can have, he's still on top. And he dynoed earlier this week. That car is 100% legal, so he's going to try to do it again here at race 4.
I tell you, 150 pounds, that's a lot. And it's not just the acceleration and the horsepower, it's the brakes, it's the tires. It really puts more energy into everything. So be curious to see how that does. And, everybody that is in front of him there, there's not a lot of slow drivers there.
No, certainly not. Looking down the rest of the order, some other drivers we should mention. How about Max Toyer popping in there at the very bottom of the list, starting in 20th? He was just making it into the races this weekend after chasing some issues on his BMW that he was trying to fix. He basically did an engine swap in it. It wasn't super reliable, so he has switched cars for the weekend, but he is making it, so glad to see Max up inside the top 20. Eric Meadows has had a pretty decent weekend. Ron Solomon out of the Andy Smedgard Motorsports camp. Andy, Ron, and Tom O'Gorman all from that stable. All those cars are prepped very similarly, but it's clear that Tom has been the rabbit to catch this weekend so far.
Yeah, absolutely. A buddy of mine is actually here visiting. He lives over in Detroit and has an S2K. Originally a Eurocar guy, and I've made sure to take him down there to check out the ASM stable.
Well, we got a great onboard shot from Tom O'Gorman, and that's going to be a really fun view once we get into the racing, and we'll see him kind of juking left and right as the field works their way through turns 7, 8, and 9. That's been a high-speed area of the racetrack. Let's take a look at our track map real quick just to get an idea of where this track goes. It all starts with a run down to turn number 1. That is a little bit of a crest into that corner, then a sweep through turn 2, a short straightaway to turn number 3, and then the real challenging middle sector here. Turns 4 through 8, I really think, are the most challenging corners on this racetrack, Nate, especially downshifting and getting through 5 and 6.
Yeah, if you get that right, you can carry a ton of speed through there and really set yourself up. Great going into 7, but if you hang it out the wrong way, you can definitely lose out.
And then through turns 8 and 9, again in GLTC cars, mostly flat. Most people are around 200 horsepower, give or take 50, depending on the weight that they're running. Then through turn 9, you're going to exit, get all the way to track left, then slam on the brakes for turn 10, accelerate out to the longest straightaway at this racetrack, 1,700 feet before your best passing opportunity. As we head back to the racetrack now, it's time to go racing. GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 4 for the weekend at GRIDLIFE Spring Kickoff. 3 weeks from now, we have GRIDLIFE Chicago, where we'll have the return of GLTC at our home track at Autobahn Country Club, one of our other home tracks. We've got several of them around here. As we come out of turn 4, 15 minutes on the board, time to go racing. From Gingerman Raceway and GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. Green flag flies, Eric Jensen leads them to the green.
It looks like...
big dive up the inside for Swenson, 3 wide into turn 1. The purple Corvette takes the lead away. He actually finished the race first on Saturday morning. Race number 1 got DQ'd for a yellow flag infraction. Look at this, 3 wide Alessandrini, Upham, O'Gorman, Chatrup, side by side through turn number 2. This is wild stuff on the back straightaway heading to turn 3.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if Jeremy can keep that car out front, build a gap while those street tires that he's on are still good, so to speak. But there's going to be a lot of scrapping behind him, and the more those guys fight, the better it is for him.
It's really, really hot out there. Track temps well into over the triple digits. So Swenson's going to struggle to keep the heat out of those rear tires. So everyone else is going to have to chase him. They can't mess about with each other. That's what happened in race number 2. Race 3, I should have mentioned. There was a car that was slow at the exit of turn 3. I didn't get a good look at who that was. But Eric Kittil now battling with the hybrid racing EG. He's having a bit of a scrap for about 6 or 7 spot. There's Todd Cayley in the highlighter yellow car going the long way around. I believe that's Derek King in the Civic, or maybe that's can't get a good look at what car that is. But we're sweeping through turn 7 and 8 now, and Nate on the first lap, pretty wild stuff. But now they're getting strung out.
Yeah, nice and clean through the start. You got a couple little groups there of people battling, and still pretty tight up at the front though through that mid pack. It looks like about 5th through 7th or 8th, and maybe 9th or 10th.
Yeah, I think O'Gorman can pass a couple cars. Aaron Lichty now has overlap on Luke McGrew as they climb the hill and run towards turn number 11. Straightaway speeds eclipsing 120 miles an hour, but as they head down towards turn number 11, it looks like it's Swenson out front, or that's actually McGrew in 2nd, I believe, as they come out of turn number 11. That's Eric Jensen that's in front of Lichty. So across the line, it's Swenson. And then it's going to be McGrew, Smedgard, Kittil, and then it's going to be Jensen, Lichty, Upham, Tab, and O'Gorman, the rest of the top 10. A little bit of dust flying in the final corner as Eric Kittil brings the fight to the back of Smedgard through turn 2. Oh, there's Stephen Cox that was alongside in the background. He was grabbing a spot or 2. Height Cutter gained a few spots in that opening lap in the 370Z Nismo for Chris Forsberg Racing. Now over the back of Lewis Chatrup in the BMW. Car popping out of line. That is one of the Marion Motorsports cars. Jake Jorenstad in the number 23 having a look. I believe that was having a look at Height Cutter, but was not able to get overlap. So McGrew, Smedgard, and Kittil all battling for 2nd place. This is a waiting game, I think. I don't really know if there's a lot of incentive to go run up there and catch Swenson now. You know he's going to fall back. You know those tires are going to go away. So maybe just wait, save your stuff to go get him.
Yeah, being perhaps a little bit more strategic and making the decision to save the car, save the tires until it gets a little bit later in the race when hopefully you can strike and make it stick.
Keep an eye on the lap times on the top left of your screen and running down the left side of the screen. 140.8, that was Swenson's first lap, but as the race goes on, that number is likely going to go up. It'll go down initially here as he's now got a couple full laps under his belt, but as those tires begin to heat up, he's going to lose that rear grip, and it'll be a real struggle to keep the rear end under him. Look at O'Gorman close in, and I believe that's Emil Tab through turn number 10B. A bit of a stack up there. Ryan Upham in front of Emil Tab. That was a challenge in race number 3, was getting by Upham's car. It's so fast in a straight line that a lot of drivers are really struggling to figure out how to get by that 13 car.
Yeah, you could see in race number 3, basically everybody stacked up behind him. He was a little bit of a cork in the bottle, but he did manage to hold on to finish 2nd there, I believe.
Yes, and indeed he did. So as we run down into turn number 1, Swenson leads with a 139.214. Then it's McGrew, Smedgaard, Catil, Jensen. No changes there. It looks like Jensen's falling into the clutches of Aaron Lichty just a little bit here. That is a V8 FR-S versus a K-swap Miata. Those cars in stock form are relatively close on pace, at least a newer Miata, an ND generation car. But in this racing form, we've swapped the engines all around. They're still around the same pace here in GLTC. And good to see Andy Smedgaard running up here towards the front. Was very successful at NCM Motorsports Park. Won the weekend and 2 races, but hasn't seen victory yet this weekend because his teammate's been winning everything so far. Yeah,
Andy's always a fast driver. You usually do see him up towards the top since he switched over to the GLTC. So it's good to see him up there, and it's not really all that much of a surprise, to be honest with you.
Certainly not, as we are now eclipsed 4 minutes into this race. A couple battles forming around the racetrack. But Swenson's lead has established itself to about 10 to 15 car lengths right now, as we're actually a little further than that even, as we roll through turn number 8. Luke McGrew in the number 7. That has been a build in progress for over a year now. It had a lot of reliability issues last season, but he finally got it dialed in at NOLA, and it's been wicked fast since then. But Smedgaard might be just a little bit quicker as they head down towards 10B. He's flying.
Yeah, Smedgaard's right on him there. Oh, taking a little bit of a look. I got to say, Luke's car is really mean looking in person. A little, black Miata, but yeah, it looks like Andy might have him going into the braking zone here.
And that is, there's more than what the eye can see in that Miata as Smedgaard goes down the inside for turn number 11. McGrew's Miata is actually powered by a Ford Fusion motor, a Duratec Ford engine, 4-cylinder inline straight motor. And you see Smedgaard now pulling with him in that K-swap S2000 from ASM, dead even into turn number 1. Smedgaard going to try to go the long way around. Was there a touch there? Maybe just a little bit of paint trading once more. Here comes Catil. He wants into the fight. 3-way battle for second.
Yeah, Smedgaard was able to keep it on the inside there going through turn number 2, which really sets him up nicely for really the next 2 corners. As long as he can keep it there, he should be able to keep Luke behind him.
Yeah, he's been working over him for several corners now, and Smedgaard is through. They got to get this over with because Swenson ran quicker than them still last time. If he gets too far out front, he can just take it easy and coast to victory.
Yeah, definitely. These guys scrapping is helping out Swenson quite a bit. The gap that he's built, it's not insurmountable, but it is substantial.
It certainly is, and Eric Catil now in the party. He might know that it's go time. Look at the lead now. It's an entire screen width from the drone cam, but Smedgaard is through. And the battle for second now fizzling for now. Eric Catil in the Hybrid Racing EG, another car that has seen some changes in the offseason. A K-swap last season and kind of working that car all throughout the year. Ended up winning the championship, but 2021 has been a hard year for him. Reliability issues have plagued that car. Hybrid Racing has been on site helping him fix it as we ride on board with Tom O'Gorman. But Eric has not seen victory since COTA a couple months ago, so he would like to move forward and get by McGrew and Smedgaard here.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of front-wheel drive platforms in the series right now either. The rear-wheel drive seems to be the formula that people have chosen and does well, but it's always good to see some of the classic hatches out there.
And it is interesting that you mentioned that because DJ Alessandrini is another driver in the front-wheel drive category with the Civic Si trying that new Goodyear tire. I had Justin Kelly on with me earlier. He was saying that the Goodyear tire might actually be better on a rear-wheel drive car, but look at this battle now. Upham and Lichty side by side. They had a little bit of a run-in yesterday. There's O'Gorman right behind and Brian Heitkotter in the mix. This is all a battle for about 6th spot right behind Eric Jensen. So this is going to be a good scrap. 5 cars if you look back to Emil Tab. As O'Gorman goes down the inside of Heitkotter, these two, I'm sure, trust each other a whole bunch, both from a pro racing background. Good action here, door-to-door between an S2000 and a 370, but Heitkotter hangs on.
Yeah, it looks like Heitkotter got him, and I'm curious to see how he does with Upham. Both of those cars have a lot of power, relatively speaking, so he should be able to kind of deal with Upham a little bit more easily than some of the lighter weight, lower power cars.
And a bit of a stoppage forming behind Eric Jensen. He's not running that much slower than them, but it is creating a bit of a stack up here. And as that happens, the advantages of each individual car start to show themselves. We saw yesterday how the M3, the BMW power plant of Ryan Upham's car, was such an advantage in a straight line. The 370 has that same advantage, but they're also a lot heavier. When we get to the transient maneuver part, the backside of this course, that's where O'Gorman's car, even with the rewards weight, is still going to be lighter than these other cars. So really excited to see if O'Gorman can get on these guys and get alongside them, but it's a challenge here in these high-speed corners.
Yeah, and it's going to be all about the run onto that front stretch for Heitkotter once they get to that section of the track to see if he's able to do something with Upham.
Yeah, here he comes now, looking up the inside of Ryan Upham. Door is open. He's going to go down there. Upham turns in. That's real tight down there. Not quite a touch, but couldn't slide a piece of paper between them as they come up off the corner. Now drag race down the backstretch. This is the battle I think we wanted to see all weekend long. Chris Forsberg Racing versus Ryan Upham. Drag racing 370Z V6 versus the BMW power plant in the M3. Down to turn number 11. Upham's way late on the brakes. and I think he's a little wide, drove in too deep, and O'Gorman now with a huge run. He's going to take it and look to driver's left. There's a cone out there in the middle of the racetrack that O'Gorman almost drilled.
Yeah, it looks like somebody must have kicked that out into the line. I'd be curious to see if they throw a debris flag that, or looks like it might be under yellow. I
see a caution flag in turn 1, local yellow, and I don't believe it's full course yet. Don't see a pace car. O'Gorman crosses over, and Emil Tab is through. Now I wonder, was that, did Emil Tab just pass O'Gorman in the yellow flag area? It looked like he might have. Okay. Again, I don't know. There's a corner station in turn 2 as well, so he might have gotten it done after. Again, that's been the discussion all weekend long. His drivers trying to drive in through the red mist, and in this 50-car field, sort of losing track of where they are. That's a big mistake if it happened. But here's Chatroop all over O'Gorman now. Oh, he's going to dive down the inside for turn 5. O'Gorman says no thanks, covers the inside now as we see a safety truck driving by us. There must be a car stopped off track somewhere.
Yeah, a driver like O'Gorman has the experience to play that defensive line really, really well, and doing it in a way that's not going to foil anybody else's race too much, and just keep everybody behind him.
Yeah, so out front, looking at the lap times here, you can see Swenson, a 1:40.044. The drivers behind him, at least Smedgaard, was faster, but only by a couple hundredths of a second, as there's the car. That is Kerry James in the number 44, is the car that we got, and thanks to the broadcast crew for finding that for me. Kerry James, again, driving another BMW M3, pulled off course right in front of a corner station, so we should be good to stay green, at least for the full course. We're going to get a local caution in some areas as O'Gorman fights back on Tab here. And there's Heitkotter on Lichty. That 370Z making short work of the K-Miata, but can't quite get overlap. Now he does. Drag race to turn 11.
He's on the outside, which doesn't really suit the position, but he might be able to just put the power down and get it going into turn 1.
Yeah, that cone might be on some sort of track imperfection or a rut or something that they might want drivers to stay out of. But either way, that's got to be a sight to see. You're trying to pass somebody, all of a sudden there's a cone in your way. And I'll tell you, a cone at over 100 miles an hour will do some damage to a car.
Absolutely. That's what I was about to say. You definitely don't want to catch that and possibly puncture a radiator or catch a hose or do some other kind of aero damage.
Yep, so there was a little bit of dust kicked up through turn number 1. Someone getting a little bit greedy with the inside curbs. There's a look at Jake Jornstad chasing Ronnie Solomon and Joel Morrison. That's a string of 3 Honda S2000s as they run down towards turn number 3. All from different teams, in fact. ASM with Solomon, Myriad Motorsports with Jornstad, and of course Joel Morrison for 9 Lives Racing. 3 different cars, 3 different builders, all running together down in the just outside the top 10.
Yeah, that S2000 platform is such a well-balanced, well-sorted platform for people to use. It's no wonder that it's so common, and great to see those different cars out there.
There's Eric Jensen now feeling the pressure from a GT Academy winner and a past pro racer. And with Heitkotter keeping that pressure on his 370Z versus V8 FR-S. On board with O'Gorman again as he chases Emil Tab through turn number 9. But he's been sort of stuck here. He started 9th. He's actually dropped down a position. So I think not having the clean air, not having as much room as he wants to race, it's hurting him here just a little bit. I think track position and where you start the race has been crucially important this weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where if he has that extra rewards weight, maybe is a little down on power compared to some other cars. If he can't maintain momentum, that's really going to stop his ability to move forward.
Through turn number 11 now with 12 minutes on the board. Could be hitting white flag probably next time by. Jensen across the line running in 5th spot at the moment. Heitkotter to the inside through turn number 1. Whoa, trouble. And that is Ben Harisco and Taylor Gajewski right in front of the leaders as they get down to turn number 1. And that's going to be a little awkward. Got a full course yellow. Those two are actually dating. So that'll be a little bit of a run in there. Again, we're going to have to go back and look at how that started. I'll go check the onboards a little bit later. But for now, don't know what caused that. But Swenson out front and leading, carrying through turns 8 and 9. Still out front, but sliding the rears. Or that's 5 and 6 rather. But he's way off pace now, a full 2.5 seconds slower than Smedgaard.
Yeah, he must have overheated those rear tires. It's just a question of hanging on at this point. Can't tell if Smedgaard is going to be close enough to be able to catch him, but we will see.
I think I just heard that there's a white flag out, so we should be coming back to the checkers. Yeah, the white flag is out, so we will be coming back to checkered flag. Jeremy Swenson won his first race a couple months ago at NCM. Here's Heitkotter in the dirt down the inside of Eric Jensen, trying to find some room to race, nose to tail, as we roll through the backside of the course. Great racing here between Jensen and Heitkotter. This is spectacular stuff through turn number 8. But going back to Swenson, his victory at NCM was his first in that Corvette, proving that the V8 platforms can find victory in GLTC, and as long as he can get back to the checkers without any dramas, he's going to do it again. And while Earlier in the weekend, he thought he had claimed his second victory. He's going to get to do it again. Jeremy Swenson out of turn number 11 comes back to his second GLTC checkered flag. Jeremy Swenson wins GRIDLIFE Spring Kickoff race number 4. Andy Smedgaard out of turn 11. He will finish in second. And behind them, the battle for 5th, that's Heitkotter and it's going to be a drag race back to line with Jensen, V8 FR-S versus 370Z. It's going to be Heitkotter that beats him to the line by half a car length. That's great.
Yeah, that's great racing. It was really fantastic. Jensen just kind of checked out and ran his own race, kept it clean. And that build, as you mentioned, really has kind of reformulated the idea of what works best in the series.
Absolutely. Jornstad and Morrison having a really good battle to the end there as well. Photo finish for those guys just outside of the top 10. Well, for Jeremy Swenson, he got it done. Smedgaard was not able to run him back down. Luke McGrew, 3rd. That's a podium for him. That's good for the points picture. He came into the weekend leading the points. Eric Attil, 4th. Brian Heitkotter in 5th. And what a weekend for him. Started race 1 in a pretty decent position. Then in race 2 got kind of bogged down in the back. And then race 3 climbed his way up to 11th. And then race 4 finished the job up to 5th place. Great run for him in the Chris Forsberg Racing number 5. Jensen, spectacular run. Again, that car is not super light. So for him to start on pole and finish 6th and only his second weekend here in GLTC, that's really, really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of talented drivers in this field. It's certainly a challenge to stay up front, be up front, and to be in the top 10 like that's definitely well earned. For
sure. So that is going to conclude the weekend for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup from Spring Kickoff here. Tom O'Gorman is not going to be able to sweep the weekend. However, I would say points picture-wise, I'm fairly certain he's going to come out as the overall points winner for the weekend and climb up the standings. Came in, I think, 23rd in the overall standings because he wasn't at the first few rounds, but he's going to be sitting pretty, especially if that car repeats this performance at Autobahn in 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the S2000. I'm not that familiar with Autobahn, but I think it's a little bit more technical than Gingerman tends to be, so it should suit that platform. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch, but that's going to do it for GLTC at Gingerman Raceway. Again, my name's Kyle Heyer with Nathan Brown from FCP Euro here in the FCP Euro Race HQ. Thanks so much for joining us this weekend for GLTC. We'll see you at Autobahn Country Club in 3 weeks' time, and we'll roll the partners and sponsors that make this all happen. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.